I'm Mike Clay, and the latest fantasy forecast. Anita Marks and I recap Browns-Ravens, talk Week 10 rankings, and analyze this week's top wide receiver cornerback matchups. Subscribe to the podcast in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Rachel Nichols. Wilbon has the day off. Where is he anyway?
Tony Kornheiser, 3 feet away from wherever Theo Epstein is. That would be called sniffing distance.
What do you think Theo Epstein should fix next?
Wilbon. He should fix Wilbon.
Red Sox, Chicago Cubs,
and
Michael
then
Wilbon.
Fix Wilbon. So the Wilbon's
that
not
might
so
be too
nervous
big a job.
Every single time some team from Chicago is playing. That's what he should do. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls, with Wilbon off. I'm pleased to be joined by our great friend and colleague from The Jump, Rachel Nichols. That's the brand new set of The Jump, by
That's
the way.
Right.
It looks good.
Do we not look like a Waffle House anymore?
Not anymore.
Woo!
Not like a Holiday Inn breakfast joint. But we begin today with the best basketball city in America, and surprisingly, it's Los Angeles. The Clippers are 7-1. That's the best record in the league. And the hapless Lakers aren't so hapless anymore. They won again last night, this time in Sacramento, to bring their record to 5-4. Last year, they waited until December 22nd to get their 5th win. Rachel, you live in L.A. Which team is more surprising to you so far?
Well, neither team is surprising to me because I host ESPN's daily basketball
show. This is a Wilbon position. Never surprised. Never. Nothing surprises him.
You have to be a lot to be surprised. I am most impressed, however, by the Clippers. Look, this is an all-out gamble by Doc Rivers. He pushed all his chips into the middle of the table by deciding not to trade either Blake Griffin or Chris Paul, even though they can both opt out at the end of this season. He decided this is a team that can go toe-to-toe with the Golden State Warriors in the West. He thought last year they got a raw deal with the injuries and, Blake Griffin punching a member of the staff.
Yeah.
So he said, hey, I think we can do it this year. Now, they had a bad loss to Golden State in the preseason. They were down by more than 50 points. But so far in this regular season, they have come out so tough, and they have backed him up.
That's interesting because, from 3,000 miles away, I look at the Clippers as having the same personnel and having been a good team for a while. And I look at the Lakers, and I am surprised because the Lakers have been a stinking team for a while. For the last 3 seasons, the Lakers, I want to go to the glasses to get this right, they won 75 games in 3 years, and they lost 181. So getting to 5-4 smells like a miracle to me. And there's 2 things that stand out to me. One is you get rid of Kobe Bryant, who was an anvil and an anchor last year. Everything revolves around him. And, what are you doing?
There's no oxygen in the
You're playing
room.
out the string at that point. And then you get rid of the coach. You get rid of Byron Scott, who seemed to have it in for young players, didn't want to play young players. Now you got a coach who's young himself, Luke Walton, who doesn't seem to have that particular old-school prejudice. And I'm not saying they're contenders. That would be crazy, but I think it's surprising, no?
Well, I will say Byron Scott made D'Angelo Russell play himself off the bench, and Luke Walton is making Brandon Ingram do the same thing. So the actual tactics are pretty similar. But yes, Luke has been able to relate to the players. He's given them so much confidence. If you looked at their setup this year, they were set up to succeed more than last year. But then again, they only won 17 games last year, so the bar was low.
But they've got those 3 young kids who were like number 1 draft picks who are very high picks.
It's a roster a lot of people would be happy with. You shouldn't be that surprised.
I am.
The Golden State Warriors thumped the Denver Nuggets last night thanks to a 33-point performance from Steph Curry, who seems to have his mojo back. But there was one notable downer. Kevin Durant had been on a streak of 72 games, scoring at least 20 points. That ended after Steve Kerr pulled him in the 4th. Now, KD didn't seem to mind. He said, quote, "It really didn't mean a thing to me, to be honest. I've got bigger goals in mind." So, Tony, 72 games. Should Durant be as cool as he seems to be about that?
Let me go over my position on Kevin Durant this year, which is that I think he left Oklahoma City in a very rancorous way. And I think he has gone out of his way to take shot after shot at his old team, and particularly his old teammate and best friend, Russell Westbrook, and he's been totally disingenuous about it. But, and I know there was a but coming, but he appears to be a great teammate in Golden State. And he appears to fit in perfectly at Golden State, and he has played great so far. So when he says what matters most to me is the winning, I'm inclined to believe that, or else why would he have gone to Golden State? And if he has to sacrifice a personal record. I think he's okay with that.
What shots do you think he's taken at the Thunder? Russell Westbrook has been the one taking a lot of the shots.
No.
Durant
The
say?
shots that Durant took at his old team, because he said how great it was in Golden State. And they really play the game differently here as opposed to everybody I played with and every coach I ever played for. And
You're adding all of that. I think Kevin
Yes.
Durant has been locked into this wrestling match-style battle with Russell Westbrook that makes him super uncomfortable. He has, in fact, gone out of his way to say nice things about Oklahoma City. But Russell is smart. He knows that it upsets Kevin, so he has played into this wrestling dynamic.
But I mean, the photographer's that's
genius.
great. I believe he's the aggrieved party. I believe that the first shots taken, the shots fired, as we used to say on this show, have been at Russell Westbrook and Oklahoma City. But I think Durant's been great where he is right now. I do.
I think KD knew that you can't have it both ways, right? You either play with a team that is not wide and deep enough to compete for a title, and then you can score all the points, or you play for a team like this, and you're not going to keep streaks like that alive. I do think it's interesting. Kerr pulled him with almost 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Obviously, that slip Steph Curry took last year in the playoffs, they're a little gun-shy.
Can I give you the conspiracy theory on this one?
Okay.
That Steve Kerr played with Michael Jordan, and they both had 72, and Steve Kerr said, well, let me keep that alive here for a little bit.
That is
conspiracy
way too deep.
Theory. I like Steve Kerr. The Cleveland Browns lost again last night to go to 0-10. They were leading at halftime, but alas, they played 2 halves. Baltimore won the second half 22-0. The second half was when Cleveland coach Hue Jackson made a disastrous quarterback change, yanking Cody Kessler and putting in Josh McCown, who rewarded his coach by fumbling and throwing 2 interceptions. Rachel, are you convinced that Hue Jackson is coming back for a second year?
Well, look, after the game, Jackson said, this isn't a case of musical chairs. He said, this isn't a case of desperate times call for desperate measures. I don't know what it is a case of. It's certainly not a case of good coaching.
So 0-9 is not desperate times,
exactly.
Really? That's interesting.
I mean, look.
What does he figure, 0-15 is desperate?
That's where you get desperate. I mean, this team needs consistency, desperately, right?
It's
the one thing that they... Well,
they got
certainly haven't had it at the quarterback position. You yank the rug from under a young quarterback. Now all of a sudden he feels like if he messes up a little bit during a game, things will get even worse for him. Consistency is the one thing that you
put in a guy 37 years old. It's not like you don't know what he can do. You know what his quarterback rating was 1. It was 1.0. That was it. Why not stay with the young guy, right?
Consistency is the one thing that you can do, right? You can mess up in the draft. You can not be able to get free agents, but you can at least create a culture of consistency, which is why, by the way, I'm not sure that Jackson's going to get fired because they've gone through so many coaches. At some point, someone has to say, hey, we have confidence in our decisions.
Okay, but they haven't done that yet. They've got
team.
an owner, Jimmy Haslam, who gets rid of guys after 1 year. I mean, I think Cleveland's going to go 0-16. I think San Francisco's going to go 1-15. I think Chip Kelly, working for Jed York, is going to put his ear to the ground and realize, let me go to Oregon, because that job, I think, will probably be open. If you talk about, consistency, the implication is consistency is a good thing. Okay, they've been in Cleveland now since 1999 on the repatriation to Cleveland.
Right.
They've got 14 10-loss seasons. That's the most. That's as consistent on their end as the Patriots have been on their end.
It is true, but I think consistency in personnel is really what you're looking for.
Well,
consistency in good personnel would be even improvement, but consistency
he went for
in personnel
Robert
would
Griffin,
be better.
which may have made sense, but he didn't even last 1 game. Cleveland is a disaster. It's a disaster. I hope he gets a second year.
Yeah, maybe he gets another chance.
0-16 would be bad.
That would be tough. Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly told the Indianapolis Star it was, quote, absolutely ludicrous. Ludicrous, I tell you, Tony, that former NFL running back Trent Richardson practiced with his alma mater, Alabama, to help them prepare for LSU. Now, this is not against the rules. In fact, Nick Saban specifically cleared it with the NCAA first. But Kelly said, quote, doesn't sound like college football to me. Tony, does Kelly have a point here?
Is it legal? Did you say it was legal?
I did say it was legal.
So what's the problem then? It's legal. Brian Kelly is whining, but this is legal. Brian Kelly ought to go out and he ought to get one of those guys that he used to have, Brady Quinn, Ron Powless, and let them practice with his team. Go get Mike Golick. Okay, after 10 in the morning. Go get Golick. Have him practice with the team. I mean, what are we talking about here? The more you look at Nick Saban on a lot of levels, he looks like Dean Smith in the sense that he understands the rules and he takes advantage of every loophole in the rule, except for last year when he got beat by Harbaugh on those satellite camps and he screamed bloody murder. But in this case, I'm sorry. Maybe you have sympathy for Brian Kelly. I don't have it here.
No, I don't have any sympathy for Brian Kelly. And Nick Saban, bully for him that he figured this out.
Yeah.
I do think that Dan Mullen, the coach at Mississippi State, who they play, by the way, next week, had a good point. He said, look, it's a good idea. Financially, not every school can start flying its former players in, can't start flying former, pro players in.
Don't bleed for me on any SEC team. Don't tell me that Mississippi State doesn't have enough money to do that, or Mississippi, or Tennessee, or any place like that.
Do you really want to give, though, the big powerhouses that have the money raking in, the cash coming in, yet another advantage? I mean, if I'm the NCAA...
Hold on. Do you think Notre Dame has money? Because I think Notre Dame has money.
As I said, Brian Kelly I have no sympathy for. I do think that you're setting up a system, though, where the rich are going to get richer. And the NCAA, which, is busy monitoring whether a volleyball player takes an extra pack of gum, should maybe look at this instead.
I mean, if I were a lawyer here, I would listen to all of that, and then I would say... Notre Dame is 3-6. Alabama is 9-0. Are there any other questions for the jury? I mean, what? It's legal. It's legal. Do it. And by the way, Trent Richardson couldn't even gain a yard of carry in the NFL. So, I mean, come on.
Nick Saban's NFL record, not so good either, but apparently it works in college.
His college record, pretty good.
That's my point.
Conor McGregor, who was all the rage in the UFC, showed up at his press conference yesterday in a full-length white mink coat and then proceeded to F-bomb everyone in Manhattan. Let's watch for a bit as Mr. McGregor goes crazy.
Sorry I'm late, I just don't give up. I run New York City. I'm a pimp. Rocking Gucci mink. And without me, this whole ship sink.
We should have run a crawl under that. That would have been good. Rachel, has Conor McGregor's act gotten you interested in his upcoming title fight?
First of all, he only showed up 14 minutes late, which in the fighting world, I mean, that's practically early, right?
Yes. Yeah.
For me, no, nothing is going to get me interested in this. I don't particularly love following MMA, but...
It's kick fighting. It's kick fighting.
It's not. You have to be nicer about it than that.
It's kick fighting.
People like it, but...
Okay. All right.
These are the same people who like you. These are your people. Some of those people
the kick fighters?
Yes.
That's good.
So,
okay.
Exactly. So
it's a lovely coat.
Well,
it is a lovely
go.
coat. Do you remember, well, you don't remember because you weren't even alive yet, but Joe Namath in his heyday had a full-length chinchilla coat, I think it was.
Exactly.
Or maybe it was a white mink coat.
Do you have a mink coat?
I do not have a mink coat. No.
No.
I have a jacket.
Okay.
Got you on that.
There you go.
Here's my sense of this, and I don't follow it. I don't follow the sport. I think he's a great self-promoter.
Yes.
I think he's lots of fun. I think he's probably great for his sport. But I've noticed over the last 2 or 3 years that they promote a certain guy or woman. They win 7 or 8 or 9 fights. Then somebody comes along and almost beheads them. And then maybe they get one more fight and they lose. And then they disappear. It seems like a short shelf life for the great champions of this particular sport. And I assume that we're not looking at Muhammad Ali here.
Right.
And so I think his time is running out.
Well,
right?
I'm in favor of anyone who keeps good quotes around. And Conor McGregor is a good quote.
No, he's great.
I interviewed him a few years ago, and it turned into this long discourse on the fact that he wanted to buy a Bengal tiger. So,
How much could you use on the air? I mean, did he go...
There was not that much cursing, so it went a little bit better than that.
It's like podcast land. Let's take a break. Coming up, which of the top 4 college football teams is in most danger of losing tomorrow?
And what are the chances the Seahawks beat the Patriots on Sunday night?
Plus, Brian Kelly,
Tony
seriously.
wears a turban next. You got to let me plug the turban,
you can say
Tony.
that. Brian Kelly, it's like he's deflecting away from being 3-6. It's like, how fast can I run, and get out of this thing?
I don't know if criticizing Nick Saban is the way to go for that, though.
This is Larry Culpepper, and if you love college football as much as I do, enough to invent the playoff, you're welcome. Do yourself a favor and subscribe to the Championship Drive podcast in the Listen tab of your ESPN app. App is short for app.
Welcome back to the PTI Psychic Hotline, where we peer into the future to bring you answers from the great beyond. I sense the first call is coming.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Rachel. John from Stanton. Do you see any of the top 4 college football teams losing this weekend?
I don't see Mississippi State beating Alabama. I don't see Pittsburgh beating Clemson. Michigan goes on the road to Iowa, so they go to Iowa City at night, so there's some small chance, but I think Harbaugh's going to run it up. And the only one I have any real concern about is USC goes to Washington. USC has won 5 in a row, probably saving their coach's job. But I think Washington's really good. I mean, where they are, nobody in the lower 48 is familiar with them, including one of the 48 that they're in, but I think they're good. I think they're good.
I'm sorry. I've watched you do this on TV like 100 times.
Love it, don't you?
And now in person.
What do you think?
I don't see how Will Bond sits across. How am I supposed to talk about college football when you're dressed like this?
There's a pashmina, I believe that's what this is called.
That's something. I don't know if it's called that. It's called something. I can't say on the air.
Grand Central Station for $1.50.
I'm going to say Michigan is not going to sail maybe as easy. I'm not saying they're in danger of losing.
Because you're from Northwestern, you hate them.
They're going to play at Iowa, 5-4, I know, but road game, conference foe, and they might be looking ahead a little bit to Ohio State.
But
so if they focus,
but you really think they're going to win?
I do think they're going to win.
Next,
but it's a segment. We got to do the segment.
Tony and Rachel, Rob from Connecticut here. I love you guys together. I wanted to ask if you see the Seahawks beating the Patriots this Sunday night.
I don't. Though this is one of the few games that I really want to see, and I will attempt to stay up for this game. Seattle is a good team. They can, if they get to Tom Brady, they could probably win the game, because Brady's not moving anywhere, and they've got 27 sacks, which I think is third in the league. The thing that surprises me most about this is the line on the game. The line's 7.5. Seattle, 7.5 for a team that good. This is the first time they've played since Darrell Bevell called and Russell Wilson executed the worst pass in Super Bowl history. But 7.5's a lot. It's a lot.
I don't know. I mean, unless they're bringing with them Roger Goodell and a safety pin to deflect some footballs, I think it is going to be hard. Tom Brady obviously on a mission. The Patriots are on a mission. They may have some defensive issues along the way, but unless there are real injuries, you don't see a lot of problems for this Patriots team getting back to the Super Bowl. And also, you have to remember, they're coming off a bye. Bill Belichick is deadly coming off a bye, and the Seahawks are coming off of Monday Night Football. I mean, sometimes it's just math.
Next.
Hey, Tony and Rachie. Do you see Jared Goff playing even as much as a down this coming Sunday?
And for the third time in a row, no, I don't. I mean, Jared Goff, they haven't played him yet. I don't know why they're going to play him now. They're at the Jets. It's 3,000 miles away from L.A., so it's one of those circumstances where there won't be a lot of booing if he does badly. But Jeff Fisher has shown no indication to play him. And you've got to look at this for a second. You have to look at where the Rams are. The Rams are terrible. At DFL in points, next to DFL in total yards. Case Keenum, 28th in quarterback ranking, and they haven't played this kid one down. So, no, I don't think he's going to play.
The reports are that he doesn't want to play him until the Rams are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Well, that was hard
I was going to say, as hard to believe as that is, they are not there yet. I mean, look, I guess it's because they don't want him to get worn down by losing, but what about the rest of the team getting worn down by this?
Why do you think it's that? Why don't you think it's because they realize they've made a mistake with the number one pick, and he's just not ready to play, and they don't know when he's ready to play?
That's the Chris Carter argument. He went and made that argument this week, that they have made a mistake and that he might not ever be ready to play. But how will we know until you play him?
We may not know this game, though.
You got to
Next.
Hey, Rachel. Hey, Tony. Do you see anyone this season making a better save than Ryan Miller did last night?
And to point out that I'm 4 for 4, I'm perfect. No, I don't. If you watch this save, this isn't even a hockey play. This is a baseball play. This guy is like a shortstop who moves to his right to snare a line drive before it gets into left field. This is real. The only thing I wonder about, Rachel, is would that shot have gone in? I mean, I don't. Right. I have no idea. But that is a great save.
I don't know. Look, I will disagree with you on this one.
Really?
The Red Wings were up 3-1. What? Now then they would have been up 4-1 instead. They still lost the game. Vancouver still lost 3-1. So give me a save in the playoffs, a spectacular save that actually does something. This save.
But that's not the question. The question is, are we going to see something better this year?
Yeah, but it has to be meaningful to be a great save. Part of it is your flashiness, your technique, but part of it is what did it save you? It saved them nothing. And I would like to borrow those earrings.
You can have these earrings because the one on the left really hurts.
It's good. See?
That's it. We're almost out of premonitions, but in our future, I see us discussing tonight's World Cup qualifier against Mexico.
Plus, Tony gives us his tribute to Leonardo DiCaprio. You are not going to want to miss that.
I never saw that movie. I never saw The Revenant.
People were rooting for the bear in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like, why do I want to watch that one?
Nobody. No,
I've seen a lot of his other movies. I think they're very good, but I didn't see that one.
Hey, basketball fans, I'm Cassidy Hubbard. On the latest NBA Lockdown podcast, me and Amin El-Hassan, along with producer Josh, discuss, is James Harden the real MVP this season? Are you a believer in him? Download the podcast.
Happy time, people. Happy 42nd birthday, Leonardo DiCaprio. After 3 previous Best Actor nominations, DiCaprio finally won last year for the oppressively cold and brutal The Revenant. For those familiar with the DiCaprio oeuvre, our own Pablo Torre did the Wolf of Wall Street dance at his own wedding. And you can see it on Twitter. Check out the cameo by Dan Le Batard.
Dan Le Batard, check out the cameo by you back there. Although, what is that, the polka? What are you doing?
I'm doing the penguin dance, I believe. Happy anniversary, Eddie George. On this day 21 years ago, you rushed for an Ohio State record 314 yards in a rout over Illinois in a season that ended with the Heisman Trophy. George went on to a fine NFL career, but since leaving the NFL, he earned a master's in business at Northwestern and played the Richard Gere role of Billy Flynn in the Broadway revival of Chicago. Talk about a Renaissance man.
Once you go to Northwestern, you can do anything, Tony. Anything.
Who knew that he was a song and dance man?
Went to Northwestern.
That's very, very impressive.
Went to Northwestern.
It really is. Happy trails to North Carolina. The 17th ranked Tar Heels were beaten by arch rival Duke 28-27. This was Duke's first win over a ranked UNC team since 1958. Northwesterners all over, including Rachel here, are thrilled because every time Duke wins, it validates Northwestern's win over Duke, right?
Look, I'd rather see this matchup, North Carolina and Duke, in basketball, not football. Duke does open their basketball season tonight, although it's against Marist, which is not exactly the same. They're a 31-point favorite.
Well, they're the best team in the country this year. Are you like Wilbon? Do you go to all the bowl games that Northwestern is in?
Are you making a crack about Northwestern's lack of bowl games?
No, because you were in last year.
I went to the Rose Bowl game. I go to the big bowl game.
Oh, you wouldn't go to like just an everyday kind of game?
I have a job, unlike Wilbon, who can
like
take every Friday off, which is why
I'm
I'm here today, because he has carte blanche.
No errors today. Let's go to the big finish. USA faces Mexico in Columbus, Ohio, and U.S. Soccer has asked fans to act with respect. What do you expect?
I think fans will be nice. First of all, the U.S. has won 4 straight home qualifiers against Mexico. They're all in Columbus. I think the fans there are used to being good. So, I think they'll be fine. But it's good of U.S. Soccer to try to get ahead of it. Tim Tebow misplayed a ball, and one scout said, quote, he has no instinct for the game out there. Your thoughts, Tony?
Wait. Jimmer Fredette had 51 in a game in China. Is that significant?
It's certainly good. It's in China. I don't think that he wants to come back. He's averaging more than 40 a game over there.
That's good for him.
That's pretty good. So I think you stay over there. The Braves signed 43-year-old Bartolo Colon pending a physical. Good move.
Yeah, he was 15-8 last year. As I look in the mirror, I always say age is just a number. I'm sure he says the same thing. Last one, Clippers at Thunder tonight. Who you got?
Remember, Thunder going for their home stance against the Clippers who want their revenge.
So you got the Thunder. Look over there. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Rachel Nichols. Wilbon is back on Monday. Happy Veterans Day, everyone. And check out The Jump. Weekdays, 3:30, ESPN2. Plug.
Lauren and Phil Baker, congratulations on your wedding.
That's so nice.
Ole Miss heads to College Station Saturday night to face Texas A&M.
Stiff arm, down he goes. Down he goes.
Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.